This podcast is certified fresh. Freshmediaworks.com.
Welcome to the Montgomery ISD Athletics Show, where each week we share conversations about everything that makes MISD athletics so great. Montgomery ISD, in partnership with families and community, will graduate all students with the knowledge, skills, and leadership necessary to thrive as productive and responsible citizens. Athletics play a vital role in student success, promoting physical and mental well-being while developing essential life skills like teamwork, leadership, and resilience that benefit students far beyond high school. The Montgomery ISD Coaches Show is fueled by EAG Automotive, East Texas's MVP since 1977. With 8 locations and a winning lineup of new and pre-owned rides, they bring the heat with hometown hustle and high-performance service. EAG Automotive, where East Texas drives to win.
With 60,000 fiber route miles across 20 states, we deliver reliable solutions. We prioritize customer service to build better relationships and a better Texas. Consolidated Communications. Let's build a better network.
All right, everybody join me in welcoming Slade Griffith, the Montgomery High School powerlifting head coach. How you doing, Coach?
Good. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Now, unfortunately, you're going to have to educate me a little bit. First, let's talk about how long have you been there at Montgomery?
This is my 12th year to be here at Montgomery.
Nice. And just overall, what's your I guess grade you would give to the powerlifting team? If A plus being, you win state championship every year.
Well, I would probably give us a B plus. I mean, last
Nice.
year I had five lifters qualify to go to the state. I had 3 boys, I had 2 girls. So it was and last year was
That's
my
good.
first year. Last year was my first year to be the head powerlifting coach here at Montgomery High. So I mean, that was a pretty solid season. All lifters, on the boys' side got them a total. Which was a pretty good accomplishment because that boys, it's a war of attrition. I mean, if you can survive it and make it to the end, I mean, that's a pretty successful day. None of my guys placed, but like I said, they got them a total, and that was a pretty successful day.
Cool. I'm exposing my ignorance again here. What does got 'em a total mean?
Well, basically with powerlifting, the setup is, you have 3 lifts. Okay.
Uh-huh.
You have squat, you have bench, and you have deadlift.
Right.
And you have to get a successful attempt in each 3. You get 3 attempts at each. So you get 9 total lifts.
Right.
And then if let's say you get an attempt at squat, then you move on to bench. You get you an attempt at bench, and then you move on to deadlift. And then you put the 3 together, and that gives you your total. Okay. Powerlifting, there's different weight classes, so, each lifter has his weight class that they compete in. And like I said, you have those 3 events. You have squat first, you have bench second, you have deadlift third. And it's a combined total, and that kind of gives you your overall place, at the meet. So if you don't, let's say you don't get a good attempt at squat, you don't move on to bench, your day's pretty much done.
Really?
Which, that's pretty tough. So you could get a squat attempt and make it to bench. And then let's say you DQ at bench for whatever reason, you don't get an attempt, then you don't get to finish and go on to deadlift. I mean, you're pretty much done.
So you don't get
like
all 3 regardless. You've got to progress.
You got to progress. That's right. If you want a total, you got to get a lift in all 3 of those events.
Wow.
So that can make it pretty tough.
No, I can see why that's a big deal now to get a total.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is.
So talk to me about the strategy there, because you say you have 3 attempts at a lift. If you're just not hitting it, do you just drop the weight down a lot just to guarantee it?
Well, sometimes, yeah. I mean, it really just kind of depends on the situation. I mean, there is some strategy involved. how you approach a meet. Every lifter is different, obviously, but
Yeah.
the number one goal obviously is to get in the meet.
Yeah.
So I mean, get in the meet is get that attempt. You always have your opener, and then you kind of build off of that.
Yeah.
So your opener is your first lift in every event, and it's one that guaranteed that you can get no matter what. That way,
Right.
it kind of guarantees you that you can go on to the second, and you can build, add weight, go on to that second and go on to that third attempt. So yeah, there is definitely some strategy involved in it. I mean, you want to make sure you hit that opener. And, generally what I do is, we'll hit that opener in the weight room, before you go to a meet. So
Hmm.
I've seen it, you've seen it, you can do it. It should be, it should be an easy lift. But when you get to regional and state, I mean, there's a lot of pressure, and, there's, all kinds of things that can happen,
Yeah.
when you get to those meets. So, nothing's guaranteed, and, judging, obviously, it can be an issue sometimes. It gets really strict,
Hmm.
at the regional and the state, as it should.
Sure.
So they're going to make sure. Squat can be a little dicey, especially with the depth. Because you're totally at the mercy of the judge. When it comes to your depth on your squat, a lot of
Yeah.
times they'll want you to get really low, and sometimes at the invitationals, they're not as picky on it, as they are at the regional and state level. So, that can be an issue sometimes as well.
Yeah, definitely. And talk to me about the time between the different ones, because that would seem to affect your strategy too. If you go all out and you're lifting heavy, but you've got to do another lift real quick.
Right. It really just kind of depends on how many people you have in your flight.
Hmm.
The platforms at the meets are arranged by your different weights. So it just really kind of depends on the size of the meet as to how much time that you're going to have. If you're a flight one guy, and there's not very many people on that platform, then it can be a pretty quick turnaround. But the more people you have on that platform, the more people you have in that flight, obviously it gives you a little bit more time, to kind of prepare and get ready for that next lift. So yeah, that can definitely play a role in it as well.
Yeah. And do you ever see a strategy? I know you said you want to get that opener. Do you ever see anybody who strategizes and said, "No, I'm fresh now. I'm gonna lift heavy right now."
You do see it sometimes, and a lot of times it's a mistake, because they'll get
Yeah.
up there, and it's something that it's something that they haven't done before, or it's something like you said that they think they can get because they're fresh, got that adrenaline pumping, and they get up there, and it doesn't work out for them. So
Hmm.
it's that strategy more times than not, it doesn't work out, for those guys. Sometimes every once in a while it does, but for the most part, been my experience that it doesn't work out too well for them.
It's like the football teams that never punt. There's a reason why you punt. It makes sense.
Exactly. Exactly right. Exactly right.
I love that. And talk to me about what you have coming back athlete wise from last year.
My girls, I graduated one of my state qualifiers last year, Sonora. She's at Tennessee right now. But I've got most of my returners are coming back on my girls' side. My girls were pretty young last year, a lot of sophomores, which is good, So
Hmm.
a lot of good girls coming back, on the girls' side, and then on the boys' side, all of my guys last year that qualified for state, they were all seniors. So all of my guys are going to be, kind of new. So I've got some good guys coming back, some younger guys coming back, but most of my experience, like I said, my state qualifying guys, they graduated, last year. So got a lot of new faces on the boys' side, but not so much on the girls.
Yeah. And then what about when you go to district meets and regional meets and state meets, the in the other team sports, there's a lot to the experience of having been to one before.
Oh
Do
yeah,
you
for
see
sure.
that where a freshman and a sophomore who've never been here can get overwhelmed by it all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, no doubt. Yeah, it happens. Even the older people, if I had a lifter who, she was a senior, and it was her
Hmm.
first experience of going there. And, the
The
fact that
big
it was the
eyes.
state meet, yeah, it got a little big, and it can definitely ruin your day. So yeah, it definitely the size of that meet, the boys state meet, it takes place in Abilene at a big at a big indoor arena. It's like a big
Mhm.
rodeo arena there. And I mean, there's literally hundreds of lifters from all the different schools there, and it's a big it's a big deal. And the girls too. The girls the last handful of years has been down in Edinburgh, all the
Mhm.
way down in South Texas, and the venue is big. Same type of situation. There's a lot of there's a lot of schools there. There's a lot of girls all over the place, and it can be overwhelming if you've never experienced something like that. If you're not really
Yeah.
prepared for it mentally, I mean, it's like every other sport. You have to you got to be locked in mentally.
Yeah.
Just like the physical aspect of it, or it can definitely ruin your day, like I said.
Yeah. And how does advancing work, in the other team sports, you come in top four, you go forward, but here it
Right.
seems like it'd be more individual also.
It is. I always kind of like to compare powerlifting to track a little bit
Yeah.
because, it's a team deal and an individual deal. When it comes to, you can win team medals, at the invitationals, but I mean, when you get to the regional and state, I mean, it's all individual,
Hmm.
so basically to qualify for region, you have to finish in the top 12, and then you go to, your regional meet and you finish in the top two, or you can meet your state qualifying total at the regional meet, and then you move on to state. With the girls, it's a little different. They have a qualifying total that you can meet, and that kind of guarantees your spot as well. Okay, so there's two associations. That's what a lot of people don't realize about with powerlifting is it's not a UIL deal. It's governed by its own sanctioning bodies. You have the THSPA for boys and the SWPA for the girls. They pretty much follow the same rule books, but there are some little small differences between the two.
Hmm.
So they kind of set all the guidelines and all the qualifying totals and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And as a coach, a lot of people are used to, again, I keep going back to team sports because that's what everybody knows. They know the basketball, the football, the baseball, and they know the coach does a lot of strategy in those games. What
Mm-hmm.
is the strategy that Coach Griffith, is responsible for? Is it just in how they train, how they get ready, or is there some actual at the event too?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's all the above, really. How we train, throughout the week, depending on when meet day is. Let's say it's a weekend meet, so we'll have 4 good days to lift. I like to isolate. We'll do a chest and tricep workout one day. We'll hit legs and legs. We'll come back and hit back and shoulders, and we'll hit legs one more time. And then the closer we get to meets, then we'll put on our squat suits and our bench shirts, and we'll get those openers that we talked about, hit it in the weight room just to make sure. I want to see it, and I want to make sure that are confident that you can do that, because a lot of times you'll turn those openers in early. It just kind of speeds up the meet, on the when you get there. So you want to have those openers locked in place as much as you can, and then when it comes meet day, get in, hit that first
Yeah.
attempt. To me, the first attempt is always is the most difficult, because let's say you don't get your first attempt, now you're behind. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, it's kind of like getting sacked on first down in a football game. Okay. Now your play sheet is, you're all out of whack, so,
Right.
you have to, do I bump up my weight for my second attempt and kind of stay on schedule, or is it in my head now? If I don't get my first one, then, what do I do? Do I stay on the second? Do I bump up that weight? Let's say I do bump it up and I don't get my second attempt. Well, now I'm really kind of behind the 8 ball with that third
Yeah.
attempt. I've got to get it. And, right now, then it really becomes a mental thing, more than anything else. It's,
Yeah.
so yeah, the mental side of it is, it's a big thing. So, my strategy going into a meet is get the first one. Let's make sure that we get that first attempt. Once we're in the meet, then boom, the rest of me is pretty much easy. The kind of that weight's lifted, so
Yeah.
no pun intended, that weight kind of lifted off your back. Now I can settle into the meet. it's like scoring that first touchdown,
Yeah.
during a football game. All right, we're rolling, let's go. Now we can, really kind of get into our game plan, and and we're off and running. So that first attempt is, it to me, like I said, it's the most important one, because it can make your day, and it can definitely screw up your day,
Yeah.
if you don't get it.
Yeah, and talk to me also about the psychology of the sport, because a lot of people think, no, this is just, can you lift it, but every sport has so much
Oh,
mental involved there, and talk about your role there.
yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, it's especially on that meet day. Just making sure that you're locked in, make sure that you're focused. The all the little things. Kind of go over that checklist in your mind of all the commands. Because there are commands like on the squat. The head judge that's sitting behind you, or he's facing you. He'll tell you to squat, okay, and then he'll tell you to rack. So you have to be locked in and listening to those commands, and listening to me, because I'm going to call you to tell you when it's time to go up, with the
Yeah.
lift. So yeah, there's a lot of mental stuff, and like I said, just being confident that you can get that first lift. And, like I said, once you get that first lift, kind of the pressure's off. Now we can roll, and we can get into our program, and we can, go on to the second and the third one, and hopefully have us a good day. But yeah, there's a big mental side to it. And like you said, it's exactly right. So many people think that, you just show up and you throw a big weight on the bar, and you just throw it up there and you lift it. And there's so much more involved to it than just the physical part of it. It's like any other sport. The mental part of it is, probably is more of is a bigger percentage than the actual physical part of it. Because if you're not mentally locked in and ready to roll, I mean, obviously you're not going to be able to perform physically. So getting that mind right, going into that first attempt and that first lift is, it's super important.
Yeah. So let's call out some individual names. Let's go through the boys team and the girls team, and some of the kids that you think are going to have to step up, or you already see, hey, these kids are locked in.
Yeah, I think, on the girls' side, I've got Trinity Odell. She's going to be a junior this year. She was a state qualifier for me last year. She wasn't able to go to the state meet. They had a previous engagement, that kept her out. There was a conflict there. She lives, girls have two different, ways to compete. They have an equipped, where you put on the suits and the shirts just like the boys, and they also have an unequipped division. She's an unequipped lifter, and she did really well last year at the regional meet, and we were pretty excited to see her at the state meet. But like I said, she wasn't able to compete, so I think she's going to do really well. Victoria Bruce, she's another junior. She's an equipped lifter. She did really well at region last year. We're looking to take that next step, to the state, get her to the state meet. And Arden Hargrave is another one that I think, she was brand new to the sport last year. Arden's a great competitor. She's a, really, really good athlete. And she was new to powerlifting last year, and she qualified for the regional meet. She's another junior, and I think she could take that next step as well. On the boys' side, like I said, all of my guys, are kind of new, but I think a couple of juniors, uh, Cooper, Cooper Jones, and I think Lance Ellers. I think those two guys, are really good experienced lifters. They've been doing it a long time. They're, good weight room guys. I think they could, go to, I think they could definitely qualify for region. And then I got a couple of new guys that are kind of new to the sport. I think Braxton Havard, I think he could do really well. He's a senior. Again, he's a weight room guy. He's kind of a meathead, kind of, weight room old fashioned guy. And I kind of talked him into, getting into it. And, he seems pretty fired up about it. So maybe we can catch lightning in a bottle with him and, get him to, get him to region. I think Keegan Gilbert is another one. He's another junior. And I think a sophomore. I think Jay Slim, if he got some good experience last year, if we can keep him healthy. He had some injury stuff last year that really kind of slowed him down a little bit. But if we can keep him healthy, I think he's such a naturally strong guy. I think he could do really well, as well. So I mean, I got a lot of potential there. We just got to get to a meet and see how it all plays out.
I love it. I love it. And this is just a nerd question for me. Talk about the tech that is involved. Are there anything new or recent in terms of whether it's wearables or equipment or clothing or you name it, anything tech related.
Yeah, it's see, like, so I'm kind of weird because this is my 12th year here in Montgomery, but it's my first year in probably a decade. Was last year, getting back into the sport. I
Mhm.
had been a head powerlifting, coach at other schools. Had won a state championship in Dublin, and had a bunch of regional qualifiers at Rudder. But I'd always done other sports here other than powerlifting, and then it kind of opened up, and I got back into it, and I was shocked at just how different, how much it changed, in that span of time. There's a lot of technology, that definitely plays a role in it. And the biggest one to me, the biggest change is the bench shirts that the kids wear now. They call them bench daddies, and this thing it's crazy. I mean, it can add anywhere. If you really know how to use it, it can add anywhere from 50, 75 to maybe even 100 pounds to your bench. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's crazy.
Sure.
It's I always like to I compare it to like a fire hose. Like if you were to cut two holes in a fire hose and
Yeah.
put your arms in it, that's kind of what it looks like when the kids put it on. They walk around and they can't move their arms any more than this. I mean, it's wild. Some of the technology, but the squat suits that they wear, it kind of gives you that that finishing ability, for the
Mhm.
big lifts. The knee wraps, that they wear it's a protection slash, like I said, kind of a help finishing type thing as well. There was a bit, the bench shirts to me were the biggest change, because
Yeah.
like I said, I'd been away from it for a handful of years and got back into it last year. And I was like, what are these things that these guys are wearing? I'd never heard of a bench daddy before until I actually saw them. And I was like, oh, wow, that thing's pretty wild. But it can definitely, it can definitely help you, improve.
Hmm.
I mentioned that the girls do an unequipped, where basically it's, you kind of wear a wrestling singlet,
Yeah.
and you can wear neoprene knee sleeves, and that's it. The rest of it is,
Right.
natural lifting. Uh, this year on the boys' side, they're going to do it for the first time where they have a raw or an unequipped division for the boys. So I'm kind of interested to see how many will actually lift,
Yeah.
raw, and, just how successful it's going to be. Because apparently and that was something else that was new to me last year as well, was the unequipped, because they didn't have that previously with the girls. But I mean, there was a lot of them there, that lifted unequipped, and, they still put up some pretty good numbers, even without the gear. So I'm really interested to see how how it plays with the guys, this year as well.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Well, Coach Griffith, gosh, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with me, educating me, and best of luck this season, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you. It was a blast. I'm glad to be able to, glad to be able to do this.
Love it. Thank you.
At the Woodlands Behavioral Health and Wellness Center, they want kids to thrive, not just in school, but in sports and in life. Pressures like anxiety, ADHD, or even the stress of competition and injuries can hold them back. That's why their team offers specialized care, including sports psychology, to help kids manage performance pressure, bounce back from setbacks, and build confidence on and off the field. They provide complimentary consultations, so call today. Call 281-528-4226 or visit addwoodlands.com, because every student deserves the chance to thrive.